It's time for 515 Fantasy Football.
I know football. Are you ready for some football?
Domination on Sundays begins with listening to these guys on Thursdays.
You ready for this?
Over 40 years of fantasy football experience between them.
Yeah!
One is a proud veteran of the United States Marine Corps, husband and father, entering his 18th year of fantasy competition. Brian Eikenberry. The other, also a proud husband and father, is one of the winningest fantasy minds in the state. Celebrating 24 years of excellence. Andy Hall.
Let's get the game on!
It's showtime. The 515 Fantasy Football Show with your hosts, Andy Hall and Brian Eikenberry.
Fantasy football and week 17. Oil and water. Donald Trump and Barack Obama. Tim Tebow and playing time. Pick your favorite opposite and just run with it. Those of you in your fantasy championship in this, the most unpredictable and irritating week of the NFL regular season, I blame your commissioner, who clearly is a masochist. But while we don't agree with it, we're still here for you in the hour of need. Welcome to 515 Fantasy Football. I'm Andy Hall. Sitting across from me is Brian Eikenberry. And since you probably don't want to talk about your lack of titles this year, Brian, maybe you can give our listeners some reasons as to why very few fantasy shows take on Week 17.
Well, first, my opposite would be RG3 and staying healthy, so I'll take that.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of people avoid Week 17 just because they don't see the value. But hidden in that value are some of our listeners, the minority, and we are here to give you a voice and try and help you make those tough decisions if you are affected by, one of the 15 injuries that just happened last week.
I was going to suggest that most fantasy quote-unquote experts or hosts or whatever are just scared.
With the fear of being wrong.
They're afraid of being wrong. We've never been afraid of being wrong.
That's why most shows stick to the top 25 players.
Chalk.
And we go all the way down to wide receiver 3s and running back 2s every single week in almost every single matchup.
Digging for gold, man.
It's usually out of my nose, but okay.
Well, okay. No matter how you found us, iTunes, Stitcher, ESPNDesMoines.com, or on the air at 1350 AM, ESPN Radio in Des Moines, Iowa. We're very appreciative that you're here. Invite you to connect with us on Facebook, 515 Fantasy Football, on Twitter at 515 Fantasy. I'm on Twitter at Andy Hall Radio. Brian is at IkeFFB. That's IKEFFB. We love interacting with you. Hope you'll keep in touch in the offseason. No matter what time of year it happens to be, our deal with you, as always, is to dignify you with a response 100% of the time. Nothing more annoying than a personality or a host you enjoy listening to. You reach out to them personally for advice or whatever, and you get nothing back. Zero, zip, nada. That is not us, Brian.
No, it's not. I do caution you if you do reach out to me personally, IKEFFB. I may be a little delayed as sometimes I get sidetracked by pretty girls on my Twitter.
Right. Over the course of this show, we'll break down all the Week 17 matchups as only we can do, grading all the fantasy-relevant players. We'll ask 3 of Fantasy's toughest questions to Brian in the pop quiz segment. We'll each choose 1 quarterback, 1 running back, and 1 pass catcher we think is worth a dart throw in your lineup with the bargain bin. And, of course, we'll talk about other stuff to wrap things up a little later on in the 515 Fantasy Flea Flicker. But first, we begin as we always do with some headlines of fantasy note. The Bills have fired Rex Ryan and his brother Rob. Good riddance.
Yeah, I like that headline when it broke. It said, the Bills have fired both Rob and Rex Ryan, which I kind of just laughed. It's like, you know what? Both of you morons are gone.
Bye-bye. Quarterback Tyrod Taylor expected to be benched in favor of E.J. Manuel on Sunday, so the Bills really have hung it up for the season. Raiders quarterback Derek Carr had surgery on Tuesday to repair a broken fibula he suffered on Sunday. Didn't even look like it would have been a broken bone, Brian. He just kind of got tackled and his body kept moving forward. It was almost as if maybe he just stretched himself out a little bit. But
yeah, until you seen the look of sheer pain on his face.
And you could read his lips. He was saying it's broken.
Yeah, absolutely.
Titans quarterback Marcus Mariota also broke his leg. He's out for the remainder of this season. Jets quarterback Bryce Petty has been placed on injured reserve with a shoulder injury. So has running back Kyrie Robinson, who broke his leg. No big loss there. Seahawks wide receiver Tyler Lockett also broke his leg and is out the remainder of the season, and that was nasty if you saw that one.
I did not. I can't watch that stuff anymore.
Running back Thomas Rawls hurt his shoulder. He's questionable for Sunday, according to head coach Pete Carroll, but did return to practice at least in limited capacity on Wednesday. Jags running back TJ Yeldon placed on injured reserve with an ankle injury. Bengals tight end Tyler Eifert also on injured reserve. His season is over. A.J. Green will not play this weekend. And how about this situation? Bucs running back Doug Martin.
Called it.
Suspended for 4 games for being in violation of the league's substance abuse policy. Rumor has it it's Adderall, Brian.
Yeah, well, you know what? Brett Favre had the same issue with painkillers when he's coming back from a big injury. But I do want to point out a week like week 8, I said, I bet you anything that the Bucs move on from Doug Martin. And the Bucs are just moving on from Doug Martin because that drug violation just voided his $7 million guaranteed money next year.
Ooh, is that right?
Yes, it did. Wow. I read that. I was in the fine print. So, bye-bye.
Wasn't it weird how they rolled the story out, though? Originally, it was something like Doug Martin is going to step away from the team and take care of some personal issues. And then it was like less than an hour later, we got the alert that said he failed a drug test and is being suspended by the team. So the way this whole thing was sort of rolled out, and, you were quite prescient in your prediction there, Brian. And it didn't take a genius to see that Jacquizz Rodgers was going to be the future for the Bucs at the running back position, at least in the interim. And granted, Charles Sims came back, but now he's, of course, also now on IR due to an undisclosed injury. So it is really going to be the Jacquizz Rodgers show there in Tampa. Tight end Cameron Brate also on injured reserve with a back injury, ending his season. Just a terrible day for Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Jeez.
How does your buddy Ryan feel about that? He's a Bucs fan.
He was not happy on Tuesday when I spoke with him about his team's prior performance.
Chargers running back Kenneth Farrell placed on injured reserve with a shoulder injury. Running back Melvin Gordon returned to practice yesterday, 3 yards short of 1,000.
Got to get that bonus.
You know he's playing this weekend.
Yeah.
Tight end Antonio Gates hinted at a possible return next season rather than retiring. Sounds to me like Antonio Gates is not happy with how this season has gone, or maybe it's just that he doesn't feel he's going to get that record after all.
Yeah, a.k.a. give me 2 touchdowns or I'm coming back next year.
Does he's got to blame that rookie, right? Hunter Henry.
Oh, 100%. He has like 6 or 7, doesn't he?
He does. Reports out of Pittsburgh that Ben Roethlisberger, Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown all out Week 17. Browns quarterback RG3 in the league's concussion protocol. He is questionable for Sunday. Redskins head coach Jay Gruden calls tight end Jordan Reed and wide receiver Desean Jackson, quote, day-to-day, both of them. Running back Rob Kelly also, quote, day-to-day with a sore knee. Colts wide receiver Dante Moncrief did not practice yesterday. He's got a shoulder injury. Niners running back Carlos Hyde has a torn MCL. He's been placed on IR. His season is over. And I just keep going through these notes and these headlines, Brian. It's so many players here at the tail end of the regular season are being placed on IR.
Yeah, and you just watch your championship go down the tubes.
Yeah, it's funny. I saw a stat somewhere, like the top 5 scoring running backs in PPR were like completely random dudes last season in Week 17. Like guys like DeJuan Harris showed up on
it's going to be the
5.
same again this week.
It probably will be. Broncos will start Trevor Simeon at quarterback, but Paxton Lynch is also expected to play in Week 17. Not sure how they're going to work that split. I'd stay away from both of them. Dolphins head coach Adam Gase hinted he would be unlikely to rest his starters in Week 17 versus New England. That sounds like coach speak to me.
Yeah, right. If you've got a spot locked up, what are you even doing?
Especially with a guy like Jay Ajayi, he's got a bit of a shoulder ailment.
Yeah.
You're not going to roll him out there.
Who was it like 3 years ago? There's a team that said, we're not resting our starters, we're going for it, and then their quarterback got injured, wasn't it?
Boy, I don't know.
It was something huge, and they were out of the playoffs like instantly, and it was just a total disaster.
Yeah, well,
I remember.
Adam Gase would
He
would be
step
wise.
right up, pal.
He would be wise to take it easy this weekend, not like his team. Well, I shouldn't say that. Miami's typically played New England very well at the tail end of the season, but I think that might change this year because New England actually has something to play for. Well, of course, they did last year, too, and they laid an egg against Miami.
Miami is the kryptonite.
You will hear my breakdown of that matchup coming up here in just a little bit. I did mention Jay Ajayi nursing a sore shoulder. He did practice yesterday, but I wonder if he'll play much. I really wonder. Texans running back Lamar Miller, not sure if he will play Week 17 against the Titans. He's got to get healthy. That team's headed to the playoffs. Vikings running back Adrian Peterson potentially could play Week 17 against the Bears, but my question at this point is why? Why? Really?
Not happening. He will not.
Really no reason. We might have seen the last of Adrian Peterson in purple.
I think so, yes.
The Vikings would be wise to get rid of him and restructure their team a bit.
Dump that contract.
Yep. With Eagles running backs Ryan Matthews and Wendell Smallwood out, look for a Sproles, Byron Marshall Eagles backfield in Week 17. How exciting. Ravens wide receiver Steve Smith confirmed this week's game will be his last, Brian.
It should have been his last 2 times ago when he said that, but we'll see. Lots of things happen in the offseason.
One final fantasy headline here. Lions running back Theo Riddick did not practice yesterday.
No, he's not going to play either.
If I did an injury report segment just specifically for injuries on this show, we would name it after Theo Riddick.
Yeah, he's always on there. Always on there.
We're going to break down all the matchups for you next. Week 17, the 515 Fantasy Football Show on 1350 AM ESPN Radio. This is the 515 Fantasy Football Show, heard each and every Thursday on 1350 AM ESPN Radio, Des Moines, Iowa. You can also find the show on iTunes, on Stitcher, and online at espndesmoines.com. I'm Andy Hall. That's Brian Eichenberry.
Hi.
Hello. We invite you to connect with us on Facebook, 515 Fantasy Football, on Twitter, at 515 Fantasy. If you happen to have any questions leading up to your Week 17 championship, please don't hesitate to reach out. We'd be more than happy to help.
We'll have some time on our hands.
Well, there's no question about that. As we begin breaking down the matchups for Week 17, I got my first matchup is Baltimore at Cincinnati. We begin with the Ravens and quarterback Joe Flacco. I give a C+ to. Historically, has performed much better in Baltimore than he has in Cincy. In his last 3 games at home, he's averaged over 313 passing yards, just over 1 passing score per game. In his last 3 in Cincy, he's averaged only 172 passing yards, 1 score, and 2 INTs per game. So I'm not in love with Joe Flacco this week. Kenneth Dixon, a C+. He's out-touched Terrence West in 2 of the Ravens' last 3 games, heavily involved in the short passing game. With nothing to play for this weekend, expect the rookie to get an even longer look against a very average Bengals run defense. Terrence West, I'm leaving on the bench, old and busted. No reason to trot him out there now. Steve Smith, a B grade. If there is a Ravens pass catcher to have some hope for in this matchup, it's Smith, who has been very steady in target share, scored in his last 2. I don't expect a ton of yardage, but I do think the Ravens will score at least once through the air on Sunday. Smith, as good a bet as anyone, as this is his last game as a professional, and he wants to go out big. Mike Wallace, I'm giving a C grade to, a desperation dart throw. You have to go back to 2008 and 2009 to find any good history against these Bengals. Dennis Pitta, I'm leaving on the bench, just not making it happen. He's has a decent yardage game here and there, but has only found the end zone twice this season in the same game back in Week 13 against Miami. Now over to the Bengals, quarterback Andy Dalton, a B grade. He's lit up these Ravens in recent history. Besides a very average 283-1 stat line from last month's head-to-head matchup, he's putting up over 300 yards per game with a total of 8 passing scores over his last 5 versus Baltimore. Expect to see a lot of throwing from the Red Rocket here, as the Ravens are extremely difficult to run on, and for that reason I give running back Jeremy Hill a C grade, and I don't even really like that C grade, to be honest. If it weren't for the fact that he hauled in 6 receptions for 61 yards back in November against these Ravens, his day would have been a complete bust. He ran 12 times for only 21 yards total in that game, and I don't think the Bengals will be trying to beat Baltimore on the ground anyway. As far as the pass catchers go, Brandon LaFell is a B grade. With Green sits, which sounds like it's likely, LaFell is your option, coming off a 6-catch, 130-yard day with a touchdown in last week's loss at Houston. Dalton should target him early and often, especially now that tight end Tyler Eifert is on season-ending IR. And remember, Baltimore's secondary is anything but healthy right now. It's a great time to exploit with Brandon LaFell. Cody Carr.
Who?
Who the heck is this guy? 14 targets, 8 catches, 39 yards last week in a losing effort. The 6th-round rookie draft pick has only just in the past few weeks started to show up on the stat sheet. I thought he was worth a mention here, so a C grade. CJ Uzoma is the tight end. I'm leaving him on the bench. Baltimore generally pretty tough on opposing tight ends.
All right, well, we're going to do Houston at Tennessee, and might I add, I really have some stinker matchups. All my people are injured, so I have a lot of bench opportunities.
That's good. It'll
There's
be nice.
a lot of seat warmers.
Tidy these matchups
That's
up.
right. So quarterback Tom Savage, he's going to get a B grade. I liked him a lot last week. He didn't put up the numbers I was hoping for. However, he is going against Tennessee's passing defense that gives up 270 yards per game. So, by virtue, Tom Savage is getting a B. Lamar Miller, you heard in the headlines, still questionable. I'm not expecting him to go, and if he does, it'll be used sparingly. They got to save him for the playoff run.
Yep.
Alfred Blue, my old boy from last year, he's going to be on the bench. Wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins has gotten a lot better, which wasn't tough since Tom Savage has become the quarterback, so he's as well going to get a B. The Texans only average 195 yards passing. Terrible, right?
Well, I mean, think back to the barn burners that Osweiler put up when he was the starter.
So good news is Tom Savage, he is above that average for his 2-game stretch here. Main benefactor has been Hopkins. Fuller's still going to get to see. Not much we can go off of him. He's still kind of hit or miss, and that'll pretty much do it. Everybody else is on the bench for me in Houston. On to Tennessee, where quarterback Matt Castle will be taking the field onto the bench on my fantasy team.
Wow.
And this is going to be, not only is it A, Matt Castle, B, he hasn't thrown any passes this year, I don't think.
No. Can you think of a worse set of circumstances? You just lost Marcus Mariota, and oh, by the way, now your quarterback will be Matt Castle, like the complete opposite.
Going
of Marcus
against a
Mariota.
defense that gives up 200 yards and 206 yards in the air.
Not a great matchup.
Good luck, pal. Running back to Marco Murray and Derrick Henry should get plenty of action. I would expect Murray to kind of fade a little bit. Watch Henry's carries tick up. But if you have Murray, I'm officially going to give him a B-, but he's your stud. He's got you this far. Go ahead and give him the start. And for the rest of the crew here, Tajay Sharp, Rashard Matthews, Kendall Wright, they're all on the bench by virtue of being with Matt Castle. They weren't good to begin with, and they sure aren't going to get any better. Delaney Walker, I'll give him a B just because he is Delaney Walker.
He is, yes. And it doesn't take much to find Delaney Walker.
No,
He'll
he's like
catch basically
6'2", or it's like 6'6", like 395. The guy, it's like a tank on legs out there.
He's like Calvin Johnson, only not really.
Yeah, except like way heavier.
Yeah, he's got that catch radius. That was always the big thing with Calvin. If he threw it within 20 yards of his arms, he would get it. Delaney Walker's actually kind of like that.
And a sad story here. I was watching NFL Network, and they were doing a rewind of last year's Lions-Packers game at Ford Field, and I was watching Calvin Johnson just like snagging balls, and I just got a little tear in my eye.
Could you imagine
wiped it away.
how much better this Lions team would be with Calvin Johnson still on roster?
Well, see, now, I was under the impression that it was going to be bad, but not having Calvin Johnson force Matt Stafford to take a different progression.
Yeah, I guess.
And it's made him a little bit better. I did see there was some rumor talk of Calvin Johnson coming back to the team since he never officially sent in his paperwork.
It's true.
Funny. And
But
he
now
was
that
just,
they're good,
yeah, he was like, there was a rumor mill on some of the beat writers, and they got him wrangled up. He's like, absolutely not.
Okay.
Not a chance.
All right. He's enjoying retirement. Let him be. Carolina at Tampa Bay. First, the Panthers. Cam Newton, a C grade. Truth be told, I hate this matchup for Cam. The Bucs aren't technically dead yet, so they'll be going all out. Not to mention something's wrong with Newton, who looked awful last week. There's got to be something there, maybe some sort of injury we don't know about. Jonathan Stewart, a B-. If there's one position I think can have some success against the Bucs, it's running back. Stewart, as always, carries some risk. When the Panthers get down early, they largely abandon the running game, rendering J. Stu useless since he doesn't contribute at all in the passing game. But if this game can remain relatively competitive throughout, he's got a decent shot at some yardage, as Tampa allows over 116 rushing yards per game on average, maybe a touchdown. The Bucs give up slightly less than one rushing score per game to the position. Kelvin Benjamin, a C+, was virtually shut out by Vernon Hargraves, Brent Grimes, and Alteron Werner the last time they faced off. Devin Funchess, a C grade, the lone bright spot on offense in the last head-to-head. Funchess exploded for 7 receptions, 120 yards, and a score back in October. Do I expect the same this week? No, I do not. Tight end Greg Olson's a B grade. Should be good for some yardage. Caught 9 passes for 181 yards in the team's first meeting, but you can't count on a score from him. The Bucs have only given up 3 tight end touchdowns all year long. Over to those Bucs and quarterback Jameis Winston. He's an A grade this week. Carolina are a defense that are now famous for being terrible against the pass. They allow the most passing yards per game, have given up 26 passing scores on the season. Add to that the fact that the Bucs are actually trying this week, and it should be a solid day for Jameis. Jacquizz Rodgers, your starting running back, a B-. He ran for 101 yards on 30 carries back in October. Also chipped in 5 catches for 28 yards in a winning effort. With Doug Martin now suspended, Charles Sims on IR, expecting a massive workload. If you're in a dynasty league and he is not owned, roster him now.
Absolutely.
Wide receiver Mike Evans, an easy A. No way you're sitting him. Adam Humphries, a B-. With the loss of Cameron Brate, I think a slot guy like Humphries becomes a more integral part of the offense. And Freddie Martino, I give a C grade to. Dart throw at best. He will see more action now that Brate and Sims are out.
All right, on to another injury-filled matchup here. Cleveland at Pittsburgh, RG3, concussion, who knows?
This should take you like 90 seconds.
Yeah, what are we doing? Kessler, McCown, either way, on the bench. Crow, I'm actually going to give a B to.
He is a good start this week.
The Crow is a good start, so I'm going to give him a B. They have whatever. Jeez, that was terrible.
What?
I was going to say something fancy for the Crow, but
you don't need to, really. I mean, Pittsburgh is sitting. It's not just Big Ben, Antonio Brown, and Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah,
there's like members of their defense are going to be sitting too.
So Duke Johnson, he's going to get a C+. For the wide receivers out of the Cleveland, Corey Coleman, B-.
Maybe.
I
don't know if I'd
Terrell Pryor, finger issues. Everybody else is toast.
Yeah.
Onto the Pittsburgh side of the ball. Well, you heard about Big Ben, Le'Veon Bell, and Antonio Brown. I sure as heck am not going to trot out Darius Hayward-Bay or Sammy Coates for my championship roster. I'm going to be looking elsewhere. So literally everybody on the Steelers roster that would normally be on your starting lineup is either out or on the bench by virtue of backups playing.
Are there any sneaky plays there in Pittsburgh, seeing as Cleveland is so bad? Think about this. It won't be the quarterback position.
No.
Would it be the running back position? Could Fitzgerald Toussaint surprise some people?
I would say that there are better ads available out on your waiver wire in other matchups with starting people, with a starting quarterback or a starting full team's roster than risking it with a bunch of backups.
I have not seen the official game status for D'Angelo Williams. I know he's been out for an extended period of time with an injury. If he does return this week, I think he gets some carries, but I do think it's Fitzgerald Toussaint's backfield. And if I'm a dart throw guy, I'm thinking Fitzgerald Toussaint might be an interesting ad this week. I think he reaches the end zone at least once.
I think Cleveland screws up their number 1 pick and wins this game.
Oh, wow. That's a big call right there.
They screwed it up last week, but got lucky that the Niners won the game,
Yeah,
too.
they didn't really screw it up because they got their win, so they're not an offer anymore. Sorry, Lions.
And the Bucks.
And the Bucks, that's right. In the orange jerseys, right? Wasn't that the Bucks team in the
creamsicles.
Orange? Creamsicle jerseys, right. But yeah, Cleveland almost. It's important to know.
They screwed it up for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, and then San Fran got the win. Oh, man, what a disaster.
So they can blow it again. I think if I had to throw the upset in, I think Cleveland's going to win this game because Pittsburgh is literally going to be sitting almost everybody.
Here's the thing about Cleveland, though. They always put up a good game against the Steelers, but they just never are able to close it out, ever. The Steelers always win. It doesn't matter. They could put They could put Tim Tebow in at quarterback. They'd win. Well, of course, Tebow wins.
I like Tebow.
Tebow wins. I love Tebow for the record, but, he's not a great quarterback. Anyway, what to do with your Dallas Cowboys? So many studs already locked into the number 1 position. I will tell you next as I break down Dallas, Philadelphia. This is the 515 Fantasy Football Show on 1350 AM ESPN Radio. You are listening to the 515 Fantasy Football Show on 1350 AM ESPN Radio, Des Moines, Iowa. We're also on iTunes, on Stitcher, and online at espndesmoines.com. The big Week 17 edition of the program is not the last one of the season. Brian and I will be back for one more show next week. the big recap and a chance to spread out and, talk about some other things.
Activities and parties and kazoos and all sorts of fun stuff.
That's what Brian's going to talk about. Oh, boy. Back into the matchups we go for Week 17, Dallas at Philadelphia. What to do with the Cowboys? Well, let's begin with Dak Prescott, leaving him on the bench because I don't expect to see him on the field. Mark Sanchez, he'll be your starting quarterback, and I give Mark Sanchez a B grade. I highly doubt it'll be Romo Sunday afternoon. In fact, I think I saw
inactive.
something.
He's
Yes.
inactive.
They're wrapping him in bubble wrap as we speak.
They are sending him to the Browns
Sanchez, by the way, in a revenge game.
with hot dogs
I don't know what that means.
because he ate the hot dog on the sidelines.
All I know of Sanchez is the butt fumble. That's it.
He eats hot dogs during games.
Okay.
It's true.
Ezekiel Elliott, going to give him a C grade. I would be shocked if he played more than a series or two. I do think he'll play a bit. The Cowboys already have that number 1 seed in the NFC locked up. Of course, he is capable of doing some damage even in 1 or 2 series. Are you willing to risk it with the title on the line? I don't think I would. But, you just can't bear to bench Ezekiel Elliott. Put him out there.
Yeah.
See what happens. Darren McFadden's the better start, my opinion. He's a B+. The much better bet for big fantasy production out of the Dallas running backs. Philly allows 4.3 yards per carry on average, a little over 105 rushing yards per game. They've given up a total of 10 rushing scores on the season, so they're actually not bad against the run, but McFadden figures to be heavily involved. He actually looked pretty good in limited action last week. Des Bryant, C grade. Probably doesn't see much action in this game, if at all. Cole Beasley, a C+. I like him a bit this week. He likely won't rest like Bryant and Witten will, which could result in some decent fantasy output. It is a risk, but Beasley is an underrated talent in the slot. Bryce Butler, a B-. He may be worth a look this week, considering the level of success Des Bryant has had against these Eagles. In the last 3 head-to-head matchups, Des caught 15 passes for 331 yards and 5 touchdowns. Now, because Dez likely won't play much, if at all, this week, I think Butler becomes that benefactor. Terrence Williams, I'm giving a C+ to. It's really tough to say which Dallas receiver succeeds in this matchup, given who will likely be throwing them the ball. But Williams, given his boomer bust nature in general, deserves at least a mention here, even if you aren't starting him. Jason Witten, I'm leaving on the bench. The Eagles, one of the best in the league against opposing tight ends, and I don't expect to see Mr. Witten out there anyway. For the Eagles, Carson Wentz, a B grade, threw for only 202 yards and a touchdown in the team's late October matchup, but that was A, on the road, and B, when Dallas was actually trying to win. I think Wentz is actually a sneaky good start. I'm just unsure of who he'll throw to aside from the usual suspects, and that's pretty much who you're going to hear about here. Darren Sproles is a B grade. Should be all Sproles all the time with the other options on injured reserve. Very safe floor, assuming he remains healthy throughout. I like him in your flex position this week at the very least. Byron Maxwell, I'm not messing with. Jordan Matthews, a B+, 11 catches for 65 yards and a touchdown the last time these teams met, has scored in 4 of 5 head-to-head matchups with the Cowboys. He should be in line for a solid wide receiver 2 type of day. Zack Ertz, a C+. Strangely, he's never reached the end zone in 7 previous matchups dating back to 2013. Aside from last week's clunker, there's been plenty to like about his target share and output in the past month. Much of that, I'm afraid, occurring while Philly is scoreboard chasing, which they might not be doing this week.
All right, let's do Buffalo at New York Jets. Funny thing, so if Rex Ryan was here, he would have made some funny team captain against the Jets. What I think would be hilarious if the Jets trotted out somebody like an honorary captain and they brought like a Rex Ryan doll or something, or a picture of Rex Ryan.
Or his wife.
Or his wife.
Could ask his wife. She'd probably do it for money.
That's funny. Ha. So, again, here we go with my recurring theme. E.J. Manuel is on the bench. He hasn't thrown a pass. He's going to be terrible. I don't know why they're doing this. I really don't. Like, why? Why would you not just let Tyrod Taylor finish the year?
Who knows?
I have no idea. It's unbelievable. LaShawn McCoy, he's going to get a B. The Jets still do have a pretty decent defense. I look, and what they did with the Patriots running backs, and they're only good at catching passes. E.J. Manuel is going to have to pass a lot to LaShawn McCoy, and I don't think it's going to work out too well for McCoy. I think a lot of his production is going to have to come on the ground. Deviating away from fantasy rosters, Reggie Bush is about to make history.
Okay.
He has 12 carries for -3 yards.
Ooh.
He will be the first running back since 1955 to finish with negative rushing totals with more than 10 carries.
Is that right? What a great stat.
How far have you fallen from grace, Mr. Bush? Wow.
You know, maybe he should go enjoy retirement like Calvin Johnson.
Maybe he should. He's going to be a broadcaster somewhere.
Watch old highlights of the USC-Texas game.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So then you've got Sammy Watkins. He's going to be a C+ just because he's big and he's fast. Why not? Right? I mean,
I don't know. Who knows
if he's on your roster and you've got, let's say, Robert Woods, because he's not there anymore, you might have to play Sammy Watkins. Everybody else is on the bench on the Bills roster. They've been on your bench before. There's no way they're going to not be on your bench now that E.J. Manuel's there.
I'm starting Charles Clay.
Are you?
Oh, my God, yes. There's no hotter tight end in the league right now than Charles Clay. In terms of target share,
Manuel.
I don't care. A tight end is a quarterback's best friend.
All right, well, there you go. You heard it. You can blame Andy Hall. That's at 515 Fantasy.
Yeah, well, I am the tight end whisperer.
Well, okay.
You going to doubt me?
Well, if you like whispering to tight ends, that's all about you, pal.
I'm talking to you.
Yeah. Onto the Jets side of the ball. Here comes does Fitz have a beard? Have you seen a recent picture of him lately?
Do we even know if he's playing this week or
well,
if it's
going to
be Hackenberg?
No, I think Fitz was the starter.
They should put Hackenberg in. Why are they messing with Fitzgerald? Does he have the beard back? I don't know.
I don't know.
They
well,
should.
if he does, if he has a beard back, you can give him a C. But if he doesn't have the beard, go ahead and leave him on the bench. Matt Forte, questionable. I don't think he's going to go. So I'm looking at Bilal Powell, who's going to get the B+. And reason because the Bills tend to give up 133.5 yards on the ground. So Bilal Powell is probably, for me, the running back start of the week. Brandon Marshall, C. Everybody else is on the bench. You don't agree with a C?
No, I think all the passing game for the Jets is awful.
Yeah, it's going to be awful,
touching it.
but if Fitzpatrick's there, why not? He's going to throw either 5 touchdowns or 5 interceptions, and they're only going to go to Brandon Marshall, so you might as well just let him have it.
I want to see Hackenberg if I'm a Jets fan. Chicago at Minnesota. Begin with the Bears. Quarterback Matt Barkley. I'll give him a B-. There are better options out there, though I do see him having a bit of success against a struggling Vikings defense, missing some key members. Jordan Howard's an A grade. Speaking of great running backs this week, torched these Vikings on Halloween for 153 yards and a touchdown on 26 carries, while also chipping in 4 catches for 49 yards. That's over 200 yards total for Jordan Howard back on Halloween. Minnesota's defense, they've actually gotten progressively worse since then, allowing lots of big plays to opposing backs. So I love Howard. I like Alshon Jeffrey this week. He scored in 3 straight against Minnesota, including a 4-catch, 63-yard performance in October. Solid wide receiver 2 or flex option. Cameron Meredith, also a decent start. I'll give him a B grade. Like the volume he's getting in recent weeks. Has no history to speak of against the Vikings, but if you're in need of a dart throw, Meredith is a fine option out of the slot against Minnesota. He's clearly Barkley's favorite target, and he's finished 3 weeks straight as a wide receiver 1. That means top 12 scoring at the position.
Did I or did I not win somebody some championships last week with the Meredith call?
Well, hopefully I won some too with my Bortles Robinson call.
I refused to back off of Meredith, and we even had some people shout out on Twitter like, unbelievable, you won me the championship.
It's a special feeling when you make a call.
I was very happy considering I did not.
Over to the Vikings now. Sam Bradford, a C grade. These Bears are actually pretty darn good against the pass. Considering their personnel, it defies logic, but the proof is in the numbers. They've allowed the 6th fewest passing yards on the season, only 19 passing touchdowns all year. I have very little hope that Bradford can surpass his Halloween performance in Chicago, in which he threw for 228 and a touchdown. That's probably his ceiling. Adrian Peterson, I'm leaving on the bench. Jerick McKinnon, a C+, one of the most disappointing seasons in history for a guy given so much opportunity. Of course, it's not all his fault, but still, his involvement as a pass catcher in this offense has kept him afloat in the running back 2 flex conversation. Otherwise, he's just a lost cause. Matt Asiata, a C grade, goal line plunge possibility, not much else to see here. Thielen, a B-. I think he'll get his share of targets, but I don't have any belief that he'll come anywhere near the production from last week. Stephon Diggs, a C+, another guy that normally would be in your starting lineup or at least in consideration, but considering the matchup here, I don't think you can expect big numbers out of Stephon Diggs at all. He's been virtually invisible the past few weeks. Kyle Rudolph, a B-. The Chicago, one of the tougher defenses against opposing tight ends, allowing only 6 fantasy points per game to the position on average. But Rudy's been incredibly consistent. For as bad as the Vikings have been as a team, he's been a tight end 1 in 6 of his past 7 games. Kyle Rudolph, you'll want to consider him in your starting lineup because I don't think the Vikings will get shut out in this game. Although they might lose. I think Chicago could win the game. As for the other one, we could argue that later. Maybe Packers and Lions, who's going to win that game? You think it's a Pack? You're a Lions fan. Tell me who wins. Quick, 10 seconds.
This
Hurry.
is the situation that I did not want to get in. Rodgers is hot, wants to win his MVP. Lions need to do it.
Are they going to
I
do
am
it?
doing the Lions. Yes, absolutely. Defend the den.
All right, pal.
Let's do it. Roar.
More matchups still to come. This is the 515 Fantasy Football Show on 1350 AM, ESPN Radio. This is the 515 Fantasy Football Show on 1350 AM, ESPN Radio, Des Moines, Iowa. Also on iTunes, on Stitcher, and online at espndesmoines.com. Getting closer to the pop quiz segment. Just one segment away from 3 of Fantasy's toughest questions. We'll fire them at Brian in rapid-fire fashion, give him no prior knowledge as to what we're going to ask.
I'm like Neo dodging bullets, dude.
See
in
how
the
he
Matrix.
does. See how he does. Speaking of Brian, he's got our first matchup of this segment.
Sure do. Jacksonville at Indianapolis. Quarterback Blake Bortles is going to get a B+ out of me.
Hell yeah, man.
Wowza. Why not make yourself look sexy for a new incoming coach who, guess who is interviewing?
Tom Coughlin.
Tom freaking Coughlin. Old bloody-nosed vessel himself.
He won't have those if it's much warmer in Jacksonville.
Who knows what he's going to look like? You might see a totally different human being out
He'll have
there.
a tan and everything.
Oh, man, it'll be crazy. So Bortles is going to get a B+. Why not? Why not air it out against the Colts, who give up over 260 yards per game through the air?
It worked last week.
Yep, you betcha. Chris Ivory's going to get a B-. Yeldon's out. Allen Robinson, he's obviously going to get the A. Both of them have been playing like they should have been. Oh, I don't know, about 15 weeks ago maybe?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I don't know what's going on, but I think the firing the head coach, getting some things changed up, shuffling everything up. New coach is going to get him locked on. I like Allen Robinson. He's all in there. Alan Hearns, I'm going to leave him on the bench in favor of Marquise Lee, somebody we were talking about back in about week 7, just looking at the trends and seeing what Lee has been able to do. He's going to get a B. He's been a great number 2 receiver for me. Just watching my Alan Hearns pick just kind of go down the tubes, and Lee surpassed him in every single way: targets, receptions, yards, and touchdowns. Go ahead and leave the tight ends on the bench there. Who knows what's going to happen? I don't like the Thomas split there. Quarterback Andrew Luck on the Colts side of the ball is going to get a B. Even though the Jacksonville Jaguars give up 210, the third best passing defense, you got to think it's still Luck. Everybody should be going, even though Moncrief is questionable. At home, I like Luck to be slinging around. Why not? They give up they are putting up 260 through the air. Frank Gore's going to get a B. Old Reliable has always been there. He's always, no matter what. The Highlander. He's always been there. T.Y. Hilton, B+, obvious reasons. Just doing great things in with the line and the issues, and the mobile quarterback that can't be mobile is still running around.
He's your league leader in receiving yards.
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy to think about it, but T.Y. Hilton has just, I believe, has been putting up his career year this year.
Yeah, he just hasn't scored the
Absolutely.
touchdowns.
Yeah.
If he'd scored touchdowns, he'd be among the fantasy leaders at the wide receiver position.
Dante Moncrief, you heard him. He's questionable. I'm going to give him a B-. Dorsett's going to C. And I don't like the tight end split here either, so I'm leaving them both on the bench.
New England at Miami. First the Patriots. Tom Brady, an A grade. The Pats were in this exact same position last year going into a Week 17 matchup with the Dolphins in Miami. AFC number 1 seed was on the line. They lost 20-10, and Brady had perhaps the worst game of his career, throwing for 134 yards and no scores. Screwed me in the Super Bowl last year. I'm willing to bet they won't allow that to happen again. LeGarrette Blount, a B+, particularly if the Pats get up on Miami early. I love Blount's chances of reaching the end zone, a feat he has achieved, get this, Brian, in 12 of his 15 games this season. Bank. And I called it in the preseason.
And I drafted him.
There you go, buddy. You listened to me. Way to go. Deion Lewis, James White, I'm giving both a C because they kind of cannibalize each other's potential. I wouldn't trust either this week in your starting lineup. Julian Edelman, a B grade. He hasn't scored since week 11, but his target share and his yardage totals have been on par with what you'd expect from him. Michael Floyd, giving him a C grade. We saw him on the field last week. got an opportunity in the red zone. This feels like one of those sneaky games where a guy like Floyd could step in and succeed. You play him at your own risk, but if it's not as if Mitchell, Hogan, or Amendola are doing much of anything.
Yeah, I think that whole team outside is going to be a dart throw. All the wide receivers.
I mean, somebody's got to step up and be another primary target for Brady. Maybe it'll be Michael Floyd. Martellus Bennett, I'm leaving on the bench. His value continues to be as a blocker in the Patriots offense. Sure, he'll grab a pass here and there, maybe find the end zone like he did last week, maybe. 2 boomer bust for me in the championship, so I'm just leaving him there. Over to the Dolphins, Matt Moore, I'm leaving on the bench. No desire to play him whatsoever. Jay Ajayi, a C+. Would be a guarantee for at least 20 touches if it weren't for a bit of a shoulder injury. Headed for the playoffs, I'm sure the last thing the Dolphins really want to do is put their bell cow in harm's way. I'm fading Ajayi big time this week. Kenyon Drake, I'm giving a C grade to. Saw some serious home run ability from him in last week's game. In most matchups, I'd consider actually giving him a shot this week, but not this one. Jarvis Landry, a B grade. New England is very solid on the defensive side of the ball. However, if there's one glaring weakness, all right, seriously, are you like choking my dog over there? What are you doing?
Ollie is fired up.
If there's been one glaring weakness, it's been defending slot receivers like Landry. He caught 10 passes for 137 yards back in September when these teams last met. Devontae Parker, a C grade, also went over 100 yards back in September. Been virtually invisible, though, as of late. Kenny Stills, a C grade, seems to have a nose for the end zone, scoring in 5 of his last 7 games. Also hit pay dirt back in week 2 against these Patriots, but only finished the day with 2 catches total for 39 yards.
Yucky, yucky, yucky. All right, we're going to do the Chiefs at the Chargers. Quarterback Alex Smith. I would have loved to have picked up Alex Smith a couple of weeks ago and just trotted him out there, and people are laughing at you in your roster like, why are you putting Alex Smith out there? You're going to lose. Wrong answer. He's going to get a B. They have been slowly building their passing games, being just sneaky about it. Spencer Ware's going to get a B-. They're going up against a San Diego team, which has some surprising statistics.
That's a fun one to say.
Woo! 97.6 rushing yards their defense is allowing. I don't like Spencer Ware's chances here, especially on the road in San Diego.
He's not even the best running back on the Chiefs roster.
You think Charkandrick West is better?
I don't. I think Tyreek Hill is.
Ha! Yeah, you got a Ty Montgomery case right there.
Very much so.
Holy cannoli.
Yep.
Jeremy Macklin's going to get a B-. So now that the thought Tyreek Hill popped in my head, how many of us thought when you seen Tyreek Hill's breakout game went, oh, yeah, let's see all the dummies who are going to go out there and grab him off the waiver wire?
Yeah, I know. How many people are thinking fool's gold, I'm not touching him, and like now he's like the stuff. I mean,
I was the same way. I'm like, God, please somebody burn their waiver wire on that so I can move up a little bit closer.
I mean, in dynasty leagues, most leagues probably didn't draft him. If he was available and you were able to grab him and get him into a long-term deal on your dynasty team, you're very, very wise.
Yeah,
I was not that guy.
He can do it anywhere from on the field, running back, kickoffs, punts.
He's a weapon, straight up.
Has he thrown?
Haven't seen that yet.
Dontari Poe has.
It will happen.
He is not in my matchups, by the way. Dontari Poe did not make the matchups list.
That's funny.
Somebody who did, Travis Kelce, he's also going to get that A. He's got like 5 games straight over 100 yards. Clearly the MVP, I believe, of the Chiefs roster. On to the Chargers side of the ball, quarterback Phillip Rivers, C+. The guy just cannot get away from turnovers. He may have 260 passing yards and 2 touchdowns, but he has 4 interceptions to go with it and a fumble. So as many points as he's getting you, he's losing them as well. Melvin Gordon, I know he's going to play. I want to give him a B. The Chiefs do give up 120 on the ground, but they don't give up the touchdowns. If you have Gordon, I'm telling you to start him. He's got to make the bonus. They've got to go for it. What do you got to lose, right?
Could you imagine what this Chargers team would look like had Woodhead not gotten hurt, had Allen not gotten hurt?
I don't think Melvin Gordon would have succeeded if Woodhead was still playing.
Oh, I think he would have been just fine. I don't think that we would probably not see the high touchdown numbers that we've seen out of him. I think you'll see a regression when Danny Woodhead does return next year.
If?
You think it's an if? Mm-hmm. I think they keep him around.
I don't know.
Okay.
Why?
Well, Why? Because he's a weapon, just like Tyreek Hill's a weapon.
But Melvin Gordon is doing just fine all by himself. You don't have to pay two guys.
Okay. The Chargers, how's that working out for you? How's your team doing? They just lost to Cleveland last week. There's your answer.
Yeah, good point.
Okay.
Travis Benjamin, B. Dontrell Inman, C+. Inman, I don't know about anybody else, but Inman has hosed me over.
Yeah, he had a really good matchup. What was it? It was last week, obviously, with Cleveland and laid an egg, right?
Yeah, it was like 40 yards.
Ugh,
cool,
gross.
thanks, dude.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah, thanks, bro. And Antonio Gates, Hunter Henry. I want to give Antonio Gates the B here. So those 2 touchdowns are out there. You got to just believe that San Diego's going to try and force those 2 touchdowns to him.
There was a guy on the SleeperBot app, which Brian and I contribute to, by the way. Free download. Great app. One of the best out there. And he made me choose between Gates and Henry, and I said, you got to play Gates. It's got to be Gates, right? He's got to score this week. And sure enough, he scored. That was a big call.
Boom.
Henry did not score. But, when it comes down to it and that record's on the line, now he's, 2 away from the record?
2 away.
You watch. Hunter Henry gets 2 touchdowns.
Oh, my goodness.
It's going to be ugly.
Is this one of those Tony Gonzalez things where he goes to another team and gets the record?
Well, maybe. Yeah, that's a possibility. Stick around the pop quiz segment. 3 of Fantasy's toughest questions are coming next. This is the 515 Fantasy Football Show on 1350 AM ESPN Radio. Hour number 2 of the 515 Fantasy Football Show on 1350 AM ESPN Radio, Des Moines, Iowa. Also on iTunes, on Stitcher, and online at espndesmoines.com. I'm Andy Hall. That's Brian Eikenberry. Between the two of us, over 40 years of combined fantasy football experience. When I got started back in 1993, Brian,
yikes,
we had to wait till the next day to find out if we won a fantasy game or not.
Wait for that paper to come in.
Although I will say ESPN had a program called Primetime that we used to watch, and that was sort of your first indication of how your team was doing. Because you'd get the highlights.
Yep, you get the highlights, see all the touchdowns.
It
was your old school Red Zone channel.
Kind of, yes. Chris Berman was the host, and they would run through the scores.
Whoop!
And every once in a while, you'd get like your stat line up on the final score thing after they show the highlights. Exciting times. Brian got his start in the late 90s, right when Yahoo and other sorts of engines
Yeah,
were
right
getting
when
their
Yahoo
start.
came up. I was deployed at that time, and that was a way for me to kind of stay connected was through fantasy football, and that was kind of how it all went together.
Again, a reminder, we're on Facebook, 515 Fantasy Football, on Twitter, at 515 Fantasy, in case you want to reach out. I'm at Andy Hall Radio. He is at Ike FFB. That's IKEFFB. Despite this being the final week of competition in fantasy football, we invite you to tune in next week as we will have a recap show, our annual recap show, and talk about all kinds of fun stuff heading into the 2017-2018 season.
Got a surprise.
Brian keeps teasing the surprise, and I keep getting asked by
There's
people on
a surprise.
Twitter.
There is maybe 2 surprises.
But why do they come to me asking what's this surprise about? I don't have the answer.
Because ultimately, you're the one who's liable for me.
Brian is the one popping off of the mouth over here. And for your efforts, Brian, I have 3 tough questions for you.
Fantastic.
The pop quiz, week 17. This is the final pop quiz of the season. Brian has done pretty well. Certainly an improvement from last year, I'd say. But we'll see how he does with today's questions. He has no prior knowledge as to what I'm about to ask. And remember the deal, no matter what comes out of Brian's mouth, I will come back and give everybody the correct answer after it's all said and done.
Heavily biased,
We'll
correct
clean
answer.
it up real nice, Brian. Clean it up, shine it up, that sort of thing.
Spit shine.
There we go. Question number 1. Can Oakland or Houston win a playoff game considering their quarterback situations?
Who do they play?
Oakland is sure to be the AFC's number 2 seed, so they'll get the first round bye. They'll likely face either the Steelers or the Dolphins in the second round. That's sort of how things are
It'll be
looking.
Houston then. There's no way the Raiders pull that game off with McGloin as the quarterback. At this point, I'm picking, do I want Tommy Savage or do I want Matt McGloin as my quarterback?
Mm-hmm.
And I want Tom Savage as my quarterback, even though I believe more in the surrounding players of Oakland. Texas defense is the number 1 in the league, so you got to assume that they bail out Tom Savage, which has been proven to increase the excitement and the effort of his team around him. So I'm going to go with Houston.
It wasn't, you didn't have to choose one.
Oh, well, then I would say neither.
Yeah, well, that's actually the correct answer. Matt McGloin has been a completely unremarkable fantasy commodity through his first 3 seasons as a pro. There's absolutely zero evidence to support the theory that he can put the Raiders' offense on his back and carry them through the playoffs. I don't see them advancing onto the conference championship, certainly. As far as Houston goes, they'll play in round 1 of the playoffs,
Play Denver, huh?
likely as a host to Kansas City, arguably the hottest team headed into the AFC playoffs. The answer is unequivocally no. Neither team will be able to beat an opponent in this year's playoffs. So Oakland, Houston,
Bam.
2 big injury. Well, not in Houston's case, it wasn't an injury. It was just ineffective play. They wasted a lot of money on that guy.
Ooh, $77 million.
Is that how much it was? Oh.
That was the kind. That wasn't his guaranteed money, but that was the total value.
Yuck. Question number 2. Fast forward to fantasy drafts in August of next year. Who's the number 1 overall pick in redraft leagues with half PPR scoring?
David Johnson.
Reason?
Because he's scoring more than most quarterbacks right now.
I don't think that's true.
You don't think so?
No, I can look that up. You go
Look
ahead
it
and
up.
keep talking. I'm going to look it up.
I like David Johnson because he has the most all-purpose yards of any player right now in the NFL, and he catches passes, a.k.a. that's why he has the most all-purpose yards from scrimmage than any other player. And I believe he is outscoring most quarterbacks.
I still don't think that's true. I'm waiting on this website to load here. Okay, here we go. I'm pulling up this. You know what? My fantasy league, for as much as I love the website and love how customizable,
it sucks.
So slow sometimes. Okay, so actually, there's only 3 quarterbacks that have outscored David Johnson. This
there you
season.
go. So
Drew Brees, Matt Ryan, Aaron Rodgers.
there. So he's outscoring 28 quarterbacks right now in the league.
That's really something.
So I will draft David Johnson number 1.
It'll be a fun debate to have leading up to draft days. The top 3 candidates seem to be the Cardinals' David Johnson, the Steelers' Le'Veon Bell, and the Cowboys' Ezekiel Elliott. In the case of Johnson, he is 5th in rushing yards, 2nd in rushing touchdowns, but first by a mile in receptions, receiving yards, and fantasy points at the running back position. For Bell, he's 3rd in fantasy points at the running back position, 2nd in rushing yards, 2nd in receptions and receiving yards, and he's done all of that having missed the first 3 games of the season. For Elliott, league leader in rushing yards, 3rd in rushing touchdowns, 2nd in fantasy points at the running back position. I eliminate Johnson.
Oh, garbage.
Because the quarterback situation is so volatile in Arizona. Down to Elliott and Bell. Both have solid quarterback play, both solid offensive lines, both play in divisions with similar degrees of difficulty against the run, both have talented pass catchers on roster, ensuring they won't own the monopoly on touches in any one game. Because he's caught 75 passes to Elliott's 32 on the season, outgaining him 616 yards to 363 in that department, and again, he's done it in 3 less games, Le'Veon Bell is the correct answer.
You take Le'Veon Bell all day. I'll take David Johnson.
I love Le'Veon Bell. He's my favorite player in the entire.
David Johnson,
and I own David
outscoring
Johnson.
28 quarterbacks.
I own David Johnson in your commish league, and I will be happy to have David Johnson for the rest of his career. But there will be some speed bumps once Carson Palmer steps aside if the Cardinals don't figure out the quarterback position. Now, they bring in an interesting free agent, like we've mentioned in the past, maybe a Tony Romo type. Then we'll talk. Then David Johnson's, I think, unquestionably number 1. But you do agree, right, that quarterback position is so volatile in Arizona, and that's basically what his success or his failure hinges on. Whereas Bell, it doesn't matter who's under center. He's going to get the touches.
Yeah, I think Carson Palmer will be there again next year unless they sign another veteran like a Tony Romo.
By the way, Ezekiel Elliott is currently ranked number 11 among all fantasy players. David Johnson, we mentioned, has been outscored by 3 quarterbacks. He ranks number 4. Elliott ranks number 11 right now, and Bell ranks 22, although that would be much higher if he hadn't missed the first 3 games of the season.
And you get half point for PPR, so that even propels David Johnson even higher.
Not necessarily. I mentioned Bell has 75 receptions on the season.
How many did David Johnson have?
I think it's like 80-something, I want want to say. It's a pretty sizable number. I
So
wish
that's
I had
another
that pulled
40
up.
points. So does that move him up in front of another quarterback?
Boy, that's interesting. See what I mean? Like, this is
So I'm 2 for 2.
no.
Yeah.
No,
I
my
think
correct
so.
answer was Le'Veon Bell. You were incorrect. David Johnson, by the way. Oh, David Johnson only has 77 receptions. Le'Veon Bell has 75 in 3 less games. But David Johnson has more amount of yards. He has 841
Woo.
to Le'Veon Bell's 616. David Johnson has 4 touchdowns as opposed to Le'Veon Bell's 2. So there you have it. It is going to be very close, I think. It's going to be very close. All right. That's it for those 2 questions. This one here is just mostly a fun question. It's not even a question,
Okay.
really. The playoffs are mostly set, Brian. In the NFC, Dallas will be the 1 seed. Atlanta has the inside track on the 2. Seattle, Green Bay, Detroit all fighting for 3, 4, 6, and the Giants have 5 on lock. In the AFC, New England will be the 1, Oakland the 2, Pittsburgh the 3, Houston the 4, the Chiefs and Dolphins battling it out for 5, 6. Who you got in the conference championship games in the Super Bowl, and who's your champion? Start with the NFC. Who's in the NFC Championship?
It's going to be the Cowboys and the Giants.
Interesting call.
The Giants have made it to the Super Bowl 2 times coming out of the number 6 seed.
Well, they're the number 5 seed now.
Right. So what I'm saying is seeding doesn't make a dang bit of difference in the NFL. It doesn't matter if you're the 6 or not.
The Giants, who, by the way, have swept the Cowboys this season.
Exactly my point.
Wow.
AFC?
AFC?
So AFC, give me the Pats, obviously. And who was the number? Run down the seeds again.
Okay, so Oakland is the
'cause
2.
It's not going to be Oakland.
Pittsburgh's the 3. Houston is 4. And then the Chiefs Dolphins will be 5, 6.
I think the Chiefs run out of steam. Give me Pittsburgh.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of like that. Real quick, my NFC championship is chalk. It's Dallas, Atlanta all the way. My AFC championship, I'm sticking with the Chiefs. I've been on their bandwagon all season long. It'll be New England and Kansas City. And then on to the Super Bowl, where you will have, my opinion, you'll have Dallas, and you'll have, I'm going to stick with Kansas City. I hate New England. I'm off New England.
The last 3 years in a row, all number 1 seeds have made it to the Super Bowl.
Oh, have they?
Yep.
Oh,
last 3
interesting.
years consecutive,
Okay.
all number 1
So
seeds.
who wins it all?
Patriots.
Oh, God. Stick around. We're going to break down more Week 17 matchups next. This is the 515 Fantasy Football Show on 1350 AM, ESPN Radio. This is the 515 Fantasy Football Show, heard each and every Thursday on 1350 AM, ESPN Radio in Des Moines, Iowa. We're also on iTunes, on Stitcher, and online at espndesmoines.com. I'm Andy Hall. That's Brian Eikenberry. Again, in addition to doing a Week 17 show, which not many fantasy shows do, we also have a recap show coming your way next week. We hope you'll tune in for that. More matchups for Week 17, those of you that are forced into playing your title games in this, the most unpredictable of unpredictable weeks in the NFL. Arizona at Los Angeles. Start with the Cardinals. Carson Palmer, a B-. He has nothing to play for and put up a very mediocre stat line back in October when these teams last met in Glendale. It's not all bad, though. The Rams have allowed the 9th fewest yards via the air, but a total of 29 passing touchdowns on the season, good for 3rd most in the league, and they've only intercepted 8 enemy passes. So Palmer, there's a glimmer of hope here. David Johnson, a B+. Historically, when 2 non-playoff teams meet in Week 17, players tend to play. Johnson is not in the running for any significant records, but is currently fantasy's number 1 scoring player at the running back position in half PPR leagues, as we mentioned. This may be a case where he plays some, but ends up yielding to Williams and Ellington in a meaningless game. But I think if he does play, he'll get his before he gets pulled. Kerwin Williams, I'll give a C grade too. The most likely candidate to step in if Johnson's playing time is limited. Williams has shown flashes this season. Could be one of the sneakiest Week 17 starts of all time. The Rams allow less than 4 yards per carry on the season, but have been a lot easier to beat on the ground over the past 5 weeks. It's a huge risk, but Williams could help you win a championship, believe it or not. Larry Fitzgerald, a B-. Not in love with this matchup for Fitz or any of the usual Cardinals starters at pass-catching positions. Only John Brown was able to turn in startable stats in the October matchup. grabbing 10 passes for 144 yards. I don't advocate you start him, certainly, at this point in the season. He's been non-existent. J.J. Nelson, though, I'll give a B grade to. With nothing to play for besides an extension of his contract, Nelson has some risk to him this week, but if any Arizona receiver does have a big game against these Rams, I think it'll be Nelson. Over to the Rams, Jared Goff, leaving him on the bench. The Cardinals have given up the 5th fewest passing yards this season, the 7th fewest passing scores. They're also second in the league with 41 sacks on the season. Moving on from Goff. Gurley, a C+. Back to the same old here. Arizona will load up the box and slow Gurley to something similar to his 19-carry, 33-yard, 5-catch, 49-yard performance back in October. Nothing too exciting. I'm not starting any of the pass catchers on the Rams side.
Not a chance in heck.
So that matchup is over.
Okay, so on to me here. Oakland at Denver. This one will be pretty quick, too. Quarterback Mac McGloin, you already heard it. No way I would start him, especially going against the number 1 passing defense. So bench Latavius Murray, sure to get about 562 carries, you would think.
No.
Yeah.
They're totally messing with him.
It's garbage. I don't think he's going to be a Raider. And that's what just irritates the friggin' bejesus out of me.
Dwayne Washington came out of nowhere.
What do you do? Why would you not just...
Or is that DeAndre Washington?
I don't know.
I get the
DeAndre
two
Washington's on Detroit.
Okay,
it?
so Dwayne Washington's
Yeah.
Okay, got it. So he's the one that he benefited last week out of nowhere, scored 2 touchdowns for the Raiders. Murray owners are sitting there like going, "Where's our guy?"
Yeah,
it was weird.
That was me. So you can eat it. Give me Latavius Murray with a friggin' B-.
You could eat it.
Yeah. Amari Cooper's going to get a C. Crabtree, B-. Cooper just has terrible luck against outstanding cornerbacks. He's likely to see Talib, so don't be surprised if Cooper has about 2 catches for 25 yards.
Dude, this is just an awful matchup, period, for the Raiders. With a new quarterback and all that.
It's just,
Denver,
it's not.
ugh.
This is why. This is just junk. So that's my analysis. This is junk.
I like it.
Trevor Simeon on the Broncos side. He is going to play, but they said that he will have reduced playing time.
He'll start,
Yeah.
and then Lynch is going to be involved somehow too.
Yeah, so I'm assuming maybe the first quarter or half,
Maybe a half.
and that'll be about it.
Yep.
Forsette's going to get a C+. Just when you think he's going to start getting the majority of the work, he just disappears because the hot passing game in Denver, apparently. Demaryius Thomas is going to get a B. Emmanuel Sanders is going to get a B+ by sheer volume play at best. Trying to win the game at home in front of a crowd, they're going to get thrown the ball a ton unless they get pulled early. Other than that, I got nobody on the Denver. I mean, that's really there's nothing left to say about any of these situations.
Yeah, I just think that, that could have been a really great game had certain things not happened.
Holy cow, this could have been a huge game with massive implications, but it's line up to be a little stinky.
Yeah, it's amazing how one player goes down, Derek Carr, and that changes the entire complexion of Week 17. And going forward, if you're a Raiders fan, you were in such a good mood going into last week's game.
Yes.
Now you are one of the most depressed people on
So
earth.
one of my friends like, it's not going to matter, because he's a huge Raiders fan. It's not going to matter. I'm like,
come on.
What are you kidding me, you goofball?
Ugh, that's just flying blind. right there.
Carr's surgery did go better than expected.
That's what I heard.
It was a perfect little surgery, but
It's
either
good.
way, I did see a note that if they make the Super Bowl, he is in line on the timetable to make a return. You're not going to make it to the Super Bowl.
I don't think so either.
If Matt McGloin makes it to the Super Bowl, he should be the MVP automatically.
like-
Let him play.
Like we mentioned in the pop quiz, I don't see them with their quarterback situation, nor do I see Houston in their quarterback situation advancing in the playoffs. I just don't see it. So
No.
my next matchup, the New York Giants at Washington. On the Giants side, Eli Manning, a C grade. The Giants are locked into that 5 seed in the NFC. It's tough to imagine them putting Eli at risk this week. I'm steering clear of him, and no, his backup quarterback is not worth the start. Do you know who that is, Brian? Most people don't know who the Giants' backup quarterback is.
No.
Ryan Nassib.
Ooh.
Who?
Ooh.
No,
he was on Houston, wasn't he?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes. He
How
was
do you
not
know
in
this?
Houston. Do you want me to look it up, Brian?
I
got time right now.
I want you to finish your awesome matchup.
No, because it's a garbage matchup, so it doesn't really matter. You're not starting any of these guys. I will I will break down the rest of the matchup here. But first, I want to look up Ryan Nassib, and I want to tell you exactly who Ryan
See,
Nassib.
this is the kind of hoodwinkery you get when your commissioner has a Week 17 and you're waiting for our grades.
He has been a Giant his entire career.
Really?
He got drafted in 2014, appeared in
He was
4
actually
games.
drafted?
Yes.
Hmm.
Wow. That's threw his first touchdown pass against the Minnesota Vikings last season.
Awesome.
All right. So Ryan Nassib's your backup. I'm not starting him. Rashad Jennings, a C+. They'll want to keep him as fresh as they can heading into the playoffs. My bet is we'll see a lot more of the rookie, Paul Perkins, who I'm giving a B+ to. Should be a ton of volume here facing a Redskins defense that has allowed the 8th most rushing yards to opposing backs on the season. A total of 18 rushing scores. Perkins is a good bet to grab at least one of those this week. Maybe a multi-touchdown game for Paul Perkins. Odell Beckham. He's a C grade. I don't see a scenario in which he plays any more than a series or two. Of course, he is an example of a guy that can do plenty of damage in a series or two, but over the course of a game, he's not going to have all that production and leave you frustrated. So I probably wouldn't even mess with him. Same with Sterling Shepard. Even if he does play the majority of this game, which I don't think he will, but even if he does, I don't trust him with a no-name in at quarterback. And that goes for any of the other potential pass catchers on the Giants squad. Will Tye included. Will Tye will not get the start this week. Over to the Redskins.
Aww.
Kirk Cousins, an A grade. Normally this would be a tough matchup for Cousins and the Skins passing game, but since the Giants are banged up on the defensive side of the ball, they're wanting to get everyone healthy for the playoffs. My guess is they half-ass it this week, leaving the door wide open for Cousins to explode. He's been very consistent over the course of the season, finishing as a QB1 in 9 of his last 10 games. Rob Kelly's a B grade. Keep an eye on that injury report, but if he does play, I like him in this matchup. He should see plenty of volume as a runner, but he's also begun to contribute as a pass catcher too, which is good to see. Now, if we can just avoid more vultured scores by Chris Thompson. 2 scores from Chris Thompson.
Terrible.
If I'm a Rob Kelly owner, which I am, I'm not happy about it. Chris Thompson's a C+. He's great in a PPR league for your flex spot. He's got some touchdown upside, as we all witnessed last week. But, again, as a Kelly owner, I'm always kind of crossing my fingers and hoping that Chris Thompson just kind of fades away into the darkness. Now for the pass catchers. Desean Jackson, currently day-to-day, he's on the injury report, but I think he'll give it a go this weekend. Keep an eye on that injury report. He gets a B+ if he does play. He's exceeded 100 yards in 4 of his last 5 games, Brian, including 3 straight. Desean Jackson. Jamison Crowder, C+. Slot guys tend to do pretty well against these Giants, but Crowder hasn't been seeing the target volume he had been earlier in the year.
So Desean Jackson's playing lights out now.
He really is. There's no question about it. Pierre Garçon, I'm giving a C grade to. Desperation dart throwing a positive matchup. Tight end Vernon Davis, a C+. Even with the possibility that Reed will miss this game, it's pretty tough to advocate for Davis, who has been pretty much non-existent over the past few weeks. And, I had a lot of hope for that guy, too, considering, Jordan Reed's shoulder issue and all of that.
I'm sorry.
What?
That you had a lot of hope for him.
Did you not think Vernon Davis was, going to be...
I honestly didn't even know he was on the Redskins roster until he scored a touchdown.
Going back to when he got drafted, though, by the Niners, his first team, he was like a physical specimen coming out of college.
Yeah, huge dude.
You would have thought that would have translated into something pretty special.
Mike Singletary benched him, sent him to the locker room.
Instead, what happened is all of these former basketball players started getting into the NFL as tight ends and catching passes. Like basketball players.
Jimmy Graham, Tony Gonzalez.
All of these guys. Antonio Gates played for Kent State.
Yep.
I mean, they're all basketball guys. Isn't that amazing how that trend just became a thing all of a sudden?
They were tall and they were fast.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Pretty cool. We have one more set of matchups. Man, we've really blown through this week 17, haven't we?
They're all on the bench or injured.
Coming up, Brian is going to break down the Green Bay-Detroit game. I can't believe I gave you that game to do. You can't look at that game objectively, can you? We're going to find out.
Sure can.
Stick around. We got that. We got the bargain bin still to come, the flea flicker. We love this stuff. This is the 515 Fantasy Football Show on 1350 AM ESPN Radio. You are listening to the 515 Fantasy Football Show on 1350 AM ESPN Radio, Des Moines, Iowa. And we do appreciate it, by the way. I'm Andy Hall. That's Brian Eikenberry. You can also get the show on iTunes, on Stitcher, and online at espndesmoines.com. Brian and I will be keeping busy on the espndesmoines.com website throughout the course of the off season, keeping you updated on some fun things we have in store for you upcoming. And before you know it, Brian,
Secrets and surprises.
I know, Brian's secrets. I don't know any of those. He didn't let me in on it. And then, of course, like I was just about to say, before you know it, it'll be time to start talking drafts again. So,
oh, come on, April, hurry up. Let's go.
Well, NFL the NFL draft happens, and that's when we really start to ramp up fantasy football talk. So
can't wait.
It's all very exciting. One final segment of matchups for Week 17. Brian begins with Seattle, San Francisco.
Quarterback Russell Wilson. Seattle, San Francisco.
That's correct.
I should intro the teams.
Way to go.
Russell Wilson's going to get an A. Fact of the matter is that he is scrambling more now that the knees are healthy. While he did lose a receiver in the mix, and Tyler Lockett, it wasn't that big of a deal anyways. I'm giving Russell Wilson an A. I do believe most of his damage will come on the ground. Thomas Rawls, when he goes, I don't think there's a question that he's going to miss the game.
Not so sure. There's a chance he might give it a go.
I think he's going to go.
I think they have something special in Alex Collins. If something happens to Rawls, oh well.
That has been the MO ever since Beast Mode left. They are literally changing running backs like underwear up there.
And if you're in a dynasty league and CJ Procise is somebody you can grab him.
Yeah,
I think he'll be the guy.
I think Rawls is going to go. Regardless, let me just say this: whichever running back goes for Seattle, let's go ahead and give him an A.
There you go.
Let's just go ahead and give him an A. Considering that the 49ers give up 171 on average on the ground, it's a pretty safe bet to start any running back against the San Francisco 49ers. Wide receiver Doug Baldwin is going to get a B. Curse is going to get the C. As terrible as San Francisco is on the ground, I believe they have 237 through the air, which is 12th best, so that's above average. I do think that's a little skewed statistic as it goes off of yardage, and if you can just run all over them, why do you need to pass?
They don't pass as much. That's right.
Yeah, you don't have to. On to the 49ers side of the ball, the quarterback for that team is going to get a B, my highest grade I've given him all year. I'm going to swallow that pill pretty hard.
A little respect there, Brian.
No, let's roll back that word.
A little respect for
it's my credibility
number 7
as a fantasy football analyst.
Oh boy.
To set aside my begrudgings of a 49ers quarterback and just give him a solid grade.
Good old number 7.
So he's going to get a B. Fact of the matter is, I don't think he's going to put up 2 points. If this game was in Seattle, it would be a completely different grade. I do believe he will be playing for a different team next year. So, hey, last game of the year, you got to make yourself look sexy because that's the game they're going to remember. If you're trying to get a paycheck, it's got to be a good one.
Does DeJuan Harris reappear on the top 5 running backs?
Juwan man? Maybe.
That's the big question this week. We've all been waiting.
No.
Are you done with the Niners or is there anybody else?
Well, you can start Curly. Curly's always a safe bet. Let's go ahead and give him a B-. Other than that, we're done.
Okay. New Orleans and Atlanta, starting with the Saints, Drew Brees is an A grade. Aside from the Browns and the Jets, no team has allowed more points to opposing quarterbacks than Atlanta. Brees, even on the road this week, is a great bet for a solid week. His ceiling is absolutely massive. Mark Ingram, a B grade. He went over 100 combo yards with a touchdown the last time these teams faced off back in September. Granted, his usage and production have been more volatile over the past month here, but in my opinion, he's worth the gamble considering this matchup. Brandon Cooks an A-. The combination of Cooks and Thomas, 2 of the best wide receiver plays of the week considering this matchup and the lack of any defensive playmakers for Atlanta in the secondary. Michael Thomas, I give him a B+. Willie Snead, a C grade. He's only scored once in his past 12 games. That's not good.
Terrible.
Kobe Fleener, a C+. He will finish this week as a tight end 1, but more likely due to lack of big-time production at the position overall, not so much his prowess or the matchup in general. So he's worth a look. As for the Falcons, Matt Ryan, an A grade. This matchup has shootout written all over it. Ryan is having a historically good season. The Saints continue to be terrible against the pass. Devontae Freeman, a B+. I don't think you can sit him. Tevin Coleman, a C+. He's at big scoring potential every week, but also has the ability to lay an egg on you every once in a while, which is the risk you run. Julio Jones, an A grade, was careful with that toe, which benefits those of you still competing this late in the game. Taylor Gabriel, a C grade. With Jones back It's tough to endorse him knowing that he's never topped 6 targets in any one game this season, and his field time really isn't that great. He's under 50%. The opportunities just aren't there in mass. Mohamed Sanu, a C grade. I do like him better than Gabriel this week, so I guess he's more like a C+. Austin Hooper, a C grade. It's tough to trust a rookie tight end in your league's championship, so I won't.
Quite possibly the best game of the week.
Oh, the flex game. Here we go, Brian. Brian talking about his team, and Aaron Rodgers, he's a bench grade. You're not starting Aaron Rodgers.
Nope, not a chance. Typical Aaron Rodgers. Let's fake an injury for a couple of weeks, get on a hot run, and go for your MVP reigning title, just like you did last time.
Number 1 scoring player
What a
in
chump.
all of fantasy football. Aaron Rodgers is number 1 right now.
What a chump. B+.
Aha.
Happy?
Begrudgingly B+.
B+. They put up 260 through the air. Lions give up 245. You don't need to do the math. Unfortunately, Rodgers is pretty dang good. Ty Montgomery, going to get a B. The Lions have an average, middle-of-the-road defense kind of everywhere. They have been playing a little bit tougher, but Ty Montgomery's I think this is Aaron Rodgers. I don't think Ty Montgomery is going to have a big showing. I don't think he's going to get a lot of touches. I think this is going to be the Aaron Rodgers show. I think this is the ego trip.
It's prime time, of course it is.
Rodgers has been waiting for this to stick it to Detroit, and he's going to try his very absolute best.
I bet he gets at least 4 passing touchdowns.
I bet he does too.
At least.
I bet he gets 4 touchdowns.
Yep.
Hopefully he has 22 interceptions to go with it.
He's not Brett Favre.
Jordy Nelson's going to get a B. Devontae Adams is going to get an A.
Oh, wow.
I will say this. So let me just digress here for a second.
Please do.
Last year, when the Packers came to Detroit, they signed a cornerback off of his couch named Cresden Butler.
Oh, boy.
He literally showed up at the facility on Tuesday, was playing that Sunday, and shut Devontae Adams down.
Wow.
Shut him down. Guess who the Lions signed this morning?
Same guy?
Cresden Butler.
Shut up.
They signed him this morning.
To what? To shadow Nelson?
I have no idea. The guy literally, again, on his couch.
But they know that he did well against Adams last time, so why are you giving Adams an A grade?
Because I don't think it's going to happen. Why
not?
I think the Lions are going to put so much pressure on Jordy Nelson with Slay coming back, doing the whole 9 yards. I think
Is
Devontae
Slay
Adams,
coming back for sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. He practiced, limited participant in practice this week. He's going to play.
Well, it would make sense. You know, they do want to stop Jordy Nelson at all costs.
Yeah, you got to stop Jordy Nelson. So that was fun. I seen that Cresden Butler.
That's hilarious.
Are you kidding me? Because that was the game I was watching today.
What other fantasy shows are talking about Cresden Butler?
Freaking Butler
and
shut down.
Who has that kind of intel on their show besides us?
Because there was the pass in the end zone that was broken up by Cresden Butler. Like he got his hands in there and it dropped it, and it just because Rodgers kept picking on him.
Yep.
But he kept just batting down passes and just going freaking bonkers, and then he didn't make the team again.
Your
and
next
he was on his
shutdown
couch.
corner. He'll do it again this year.
Cresden Butler's going to come back and do it.
You know what? Now I have a compelling reason to actually watch this game and watch it closely, because if Butler ends up on the field on Adams, that is going to be the matchup of the century now because of all the hype.
I'm going to get so hammered during this game.
I can't wait. I want to see that, by the way. I have to see it.
So there you go. There's a little tidbit. Jared Cook's going to get the B-. I think it's just going to be pass heavy, but Lions do have Levy back, who is a good cover, and he likes to cover the tight ends. On the Lions side of the ball, Matt Stafford is going to get a B-.
Against the Packers?
Yeah, against the Packers.
What?
Packers give up 265. My problem with
They're
Stafford,
terrible.
it's not his finger. It's his decisions. And he came out and admitted that this morning in the press conference. They're saying, it was a finger injury worse than it was. And he goes, actually, with the new glove that he has on, and it has it's the thong.
The thong
glove.
on the middle finger.
He's like, no, it's my decision making. And it is. He's just trying to do too much. He's not letting the things go. Probably Caldwell's worst coached game ever last week on Monday night.
It was ugly.
Zach Zenner,
Zach Zenner.
B+.
Wow.
B+.
He looked good running last week.
He looked like a stud and then only had 2 carries in the second half.
I didn't get that at all.
Guy had like 70% of the Lions' total offense and 2 touchdowns, but
Weird.
let's just not include him at all. So Zenner's going to get a B+. Golden Tate's going to get a B. Marvin Jones cannot get open anymore, and Coach Caldwell called him out.
Don't even play him. He's out.
Are you sure?
Oh, he's out.
Are you
Marvin
sure?
Jones out.
Are you sure?
I know. Last time he played the Packers, he went over 200 yards. I get it.
And he was just called out by the head coach for not being able to get open.
Are you really advocating to start Marvin Jones after
Sure
all this?
am.
Oh, wow.
Sure am.
All right, pal.
B-. Bolden, B. Ebron, don't start.
That's that.
Ebron
Matchups.
did score against the Packers.
I think he's a good dart throw at the tight end position. He'd be all right. All right, stick around. Bargain bin picks, flea flicker, all next. 515 Fantasy Football, 1350 a.m., ESPN Radio. Final segment of this week's edition of the 515 Fantasy Football Show on 1350 a.m., ESPN Radio, Des Moines, Iowa. We're also on iTunes, on Stitcher, and online at espndesmoines.com. I'm Andy Hall. That's Brian Eikenberry. One quick reminder again that despite this being the final show with matchups, final competitive show, we do have a recap coming your way next week, and that'll be the final show of our second season.
With surprises and kazoos. Maybe even a party hat.
Brian will be supplying the kazoos because I don't have the budget for it.
It's New Year's. I'm just taking them from people's parties.
One more plea to invite you to rate and review the show on iTunes. If you have an opportunity, please give us your time and your love. We much appreciate that. If you want to hit us up on Facebook, 515 Fantasy Football, on Twitter, at 515 Fantasy. I am at Andy Hall Radio. He is at Ike FFB. That's IKEFFB. As we've been doing all season, bargain bin picks straight off your waiver wire. Chances are these guys are available. One quarterback, one running back, one pass catcher from each of us. Who's your quarterback, Brian?
If you didn't take Andy's advice last week on your quarterback, and you are still somehow, if you were one of the quarterbacks who got injured, you need to go out and grab Blake freaking Bortles right now.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Now. Get him.
All right.
That's all.
Tom Savage. It's like we're switching.
Oh,
here.
we did just switch,
We
didn't
did.
we?
I had Bortles last week. You had Savage. I'm going Savage this week. No defense has been more beatable through the air over the past month plus than the Tennessee Titans have. Following the success of my Blake Bortles call in Week 16, I give you one Tom Savage of the Houston Texans. With Lamar Miller still on the mend, questionable to play this weekend, look for Savage to make use of his biggest weapons, DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller, and put up some solid fantasy stats. Who's your running back?
Running back Zack Zenner.
Zenner.
Caldwell has taken major heat for not using Zenner the way he did in the first half and the second half of last week's game.
That was completely confusing.
He will not make the same mistake because he knows if it's a terrible like he's on the hot seat again. At 9-6, he's on the hot seat again. Terrible.
I so want to go with Fitzgerald Toussaint as my running back.
But you're not gonna.
No, I'm going to go Darren Sproles.
Zack Zenner.
No Matthews, no Smallwood, no problem. Sproles may yield a few carries to rookie Byron Marshall this weekend, but make no mistake, if the Eagles have any interest whatsoever in actually winning this game in their house against a hated divisional opponent that has already locked up the number 1 seed in the upcoming playoffs and is sure to rest a majority of their big playmakers, Sproles will enjoy the lion's share of the touches. Who's your pass catcher, Brian?
My pass catcher is the one Seattle Seahawks, Jermaine Kearse. Why, might you ask? Well, no, Lockett's hurt. Rawls we assume is going to be injured and is going to have a reduced workload. I believe San Francisco, they give up the 6th most fantasy points to wide receiver, and Kearse had a touchdown last week. So why not give it up to Jermaine Kearse? If you have a dart throw, I think Kearse is your chance here. He's only 4% owned.
My wide receivers, Marquise Lee, Jacksonville. He faces a Colts defense that has been hot garbage all season long. They've allowed the 8th most passing yards, the 5th most passing scores. The Jags can't run the ball. Had a taste of success last week employing a pass-heavy approach. I have very little doubt Lee can be a top-notch flex play regardless of scoring format. And hopefully one of those players or more can help you win a championship here in Week 17. We wish you the best of luck. We wrap up each and every show with a segment Brian came up with leading into this season called the 515 Fantasy Flea Flicker. And the first thing I want to talk about is the passing of Carrie Fisher, Brian.
Oh, my princess.
Princess Leia who also portrayed an unnamed character in the Blues Brothers back in the day.
Yeah, she was.
The hot bazooka-wielding psycho chick.
Yeah, flamethrowers, everything. Everything.
She was hot, dude.
That was fun.
Yeah, but Carrie Fisher, for all the, sexiness, she was the gal that would tell you, if you were face-to-face with her, she'd laugh about the whole sexy thing and be like, I'm not sexy at all. She's more like funny, intellectual, like all those things, you know?
I was reading, so I'm in the Star Wars niche of cool people who have gossip and news, and I was reading one fan's write-up to her, and if you went to some of her meet and greets, he was at a closed event, and a lot of times she didn't allow for pictures to be taken, and
the mics didn't pick that up, but my dog totally just farted.
it was loud, too.
It was very loud.
And now he's super excited
Probably
and comes over to
stinks.
say hi.
Yeah, right to you, Brian. Anyway.
This fan, he wrote this great little thing and shared the picture, and he was going through this closed event. It was over in England, and Carrie Fisher asked to sign his head, and he thought it was a joke, and her agent came over and said, no, dude, she's for real. She wants to sign your head. And he's like, you can take a picture of it. You'll be the only one who gets a picture with her this time, and she can sign your head.
Wow.
So like her thing was guys with bald heads. So if you came through, she always wanted, her joke was, I want to sign your head. So that was pretty cool. So to see a star kind of regress and say, woo, Ollie attacks during Carrie Fisher.
I have my shirt up over my nose and my mouth. If I sound a little muffled, it's because my dog stinks and stunk up my home studio. Thanks, Ollie.
So we did lose R2 this year as well. Kenny Baker, the actor who played R2. So we lost our princess and her droid.
And then just over 24 hours after the passing of Carrie Fisher, her mother, Debbie Reynolds, passes away.
Yeah, dude, it's the Force, man. I'm telling you.
Oh, well, I mean, there is something to be said for a broken heart. It's
Yep.
a real thing, and you see it a lot with married couples that have been married forever.
Yep.
One goes, and the other's sure to follow not long after that. Well, this is a mother-daughter combination here, but wow. Debbie Reynolds passing away 24 hours or so after her daughter. But yeah, very, very sad indeed. No question about it. So me starting it off with a complete downer.
So the conversation then is what happens in episode 9. She finished filming episode 8.
Yep.
So my dice roll here would be to do a twist because, let's face it, Rey is Han and Leia's daughter. That's my call. It's happening. That's the way it is.
Okay.
The scroll comes out. Rey comes back from some journey. Her and Luke have been battling. They kill the Knights of Ren. Luke dies as well. Rey comes back to find out that her mother, General Leia, has died of a heart attack. The same way her mother did.
Okay.
In episode 3.
Okay.
Princess Amidala, Senator Amidala, whatever you want to call her.
Yep.
She died of a broken heart as well.
Yep.
A fitting way to me for the actor is not to CGI or not to do anything fancy. Having art imitate life in doing that and saying, yeah, this is how she died in real life. This is how she's going to die in the movie. That's pretty cool.
That's brilliant. You came up with that?
I will steal that from
Oh, you
somebody
didn't
else.
come up with that.
No,
Oh,
I didn't.
Darn.
But that's the Star Wars collective. That's kind of the overwhelming honorsome theory right now. That would be cool.
Now, you got a son who's, Benny's what now, 3 or 4?
4.
4. He's probably getting pretty close to
in
the
the
age
ass right now.
Yeah, but you're going to be able to introduce the Star Wars universe to him pretty soon, aren't
Oh,
you?
we're already way past that.
Are you really?
Yeah, we're putting together Poe's X-Wing tomorrow.
My 6-year-old son, Alex, is really starting to get into it. And a lot of their Christmas presents this year were Star Wars themed. And it was so much, you know what, for as much fun as I'm sure he's having and he had, Dad had plenty of fun this Christmas, too.
Way cooler for me.
Yeah, we got a whole bunch of Star Wars swag around here now, which
Yeah.
is a lot of fun. And
Way funner.
that age where they, and if they really do show a genuine interest in the movies, like with Alex, we started with A New Hope, and boy, right away he just gravitated right to the Stormtroopers and Darth Vader and all the characters. And
I tried to do some movies with Benny. He's just not there yet because he's 4. But he likes Star Wars. If I talk about it, he doesn't like watching it on TV yet. So we got coloring books. We've got some Lego sets. We've got Stormtroopers.
Very cool.
Stuff like that. So he digs it. He understands it. He's not very strong with the Force, though. I
Well,
don't know what's happening there.
There's time.
He is a good lightsaber dueler, though.
There you go. Well,
Breaks your knuckles, pal. Whacked my mom in the face, bent her glasses over Christmas. It was great.
not to be a downer, but a good friend of mine and former coworker just passed away earlier this week. His name's Chris Chandler. Worked with him for quite a while at the Des Moines Radio Group, and he's a guy that is right about our age.
Mm-hmm.
Mid to upper 30s, and his health had been in decline for quite some time, although he had been holding on. Finally just gave out and passed away.
Sorry to hear,
earlier
my
this
man.
week. Yeah, very, very sorry to hear, because Chris was he was a great dude. He was a guy that, we were both big fans. We are both big fans of the band Queen, okay? So one day I came in and said, "Hey, Chris, did you see the news? They're putting out the remasters." And, this is a few years back. They were remastering all the Queen catalog. The next day, Chris brought in the entire Queen catalog for me. He had made them all for me and was like, "Here they are." And that was the kind of guy Chris was. So I just wanted to take a second here just to mention him and the fact that he will be missed. No question about it. I'm headed to Seattle for New Year's Eve, Brian.
Yes, you are.
Going to spend it with TSO, Trans-Siberian Orchestra, some of my old friends in TSO, and we're going to be up in Seattle in the Pacific Northwest, and it's going to be so much fun. I can't wait. What are you doing for New Year's?
I'll be in bed by 10, or I will be playing video games.
I like it a lot. You and I should plan a video game night, since I don't have a Nintendo Classic yet.
Aw. Wah, wah.
All right, well, stick around. Next week, we will be back for the recap show. We hope you'll tune in for that then. If you're playing in Week 17, we wish you the best of luck. For Brian Eikenberry, I'm Andy Hall. This is the 515 Fantasy Football Show. See you next time.